Already today's daily challenge: the Killhouse stealth, reinforced locks, faster detection, and unintimidating. Which means that we can't interrogate anyone, which means that we're gonna have to use the drill to actually get a vault open. Which is mildly unfortunate, but aside from that, there's reinforced locks and faster detection, so it shouldn't be too bad aside from that, since it's really just lockpicking slower, and then being detected way faster. And unfortunately, we can't lure anyone, but it's Killhouse, so we generally shouldn't need to. But surprisingly, there's not a single camera inside over here, which is quite nice, but regardless, we're still going to have to wait for a guard to actually show up. So we're gonna wait for a guard to actually show up. That's kind of how this works, so... well, that's some great timing. Hopefully the guard can turn around, because that would be absolutely fantastic. And it seems like Cyber has spotted yet another camera over there, which could be problematic later on, but hopefully all will go perfectly fine for right now. And presumably, one of the other two guards will hopefully make it here at some point in the future. Since it's been quite a while since we actually left this room, and there aren't any cameras here, which means that we won't have to wait for one specific spot over there, which means that as long as you come inside right now, things are going to be absolutely perfect, which... I suppose that works, and I mean there's a keycard immediately, so if Cyber wants it, that's certainly an option. That or we could just creep up over here, drop that scrambler, and just move along with what we're doing. And then afterwards we could obviously grab a disguise, and Cyber's presumably just gonna hide behind that for even longer. But now that I've got a disguise, I could always loop the cameras, and take care of things. Well, never mind then. But this area is empty, which means that we can go all the way over here, to actually loop this camera. Sorry, we're gonna have to go over here to loop this camera, before we loop that camera, before we loop that camera. It's a bit of a long chain, but eventually we'll get it looped, so it's gonna take a while. Sorry, it's an extra long chain. We've got this camera first, so we're gonna have to take care of this, loop this one, and then afterwards we can hopefully finally loop this camera before taking care of the other ones, and then clearing this area. Which is just hilarious. There's 2 cameras over there, a third one over there, before we can finally loop this camera, which is done right around now. So essentially, we can just do that. And as long as no one gets on the radio, things are gonna go just fine. And I mean, things are going just fine. But regardless, we're gonna have to bag them up first, just so that hopefully things won't go horrendously if we were to accidentally open a door, and there's a dead body right over there. I mean, not actually a dead body, but just a body. So regardless, we're gonna go through here, check for that wire, which it is red. So who knows, maybe that power box was red. I didn't check, so it's probably a good time to find out right now. And it is. So we're gonna get it open, and then afterwards, well, it's gonna be disabled. And that's kind of how this works. So as Cyber presumably clears one of the rooms, or one of the areas most precisely, we're just gonna go over here and figure out what we're gonna do. Which hopefully shouldn't be too complicated, and shouldn't involve that many cameras, because unfortunately, it probably will. Because quite unfortunately, clearing's not that fast when we... That's a joke. Right then, we're gonna go over here and take care of this instead first, since the guard's gonna have to stare right where we're trying to loop a camera, because this does make things quite convenient so far. All of them are at relatively good spots and there aren't that many cameras, but there is one over there. But then again, this is a dead end, which does make a lot of things quite convenient. But as long as you face away, that's not how you face away, but then again, the rest of this area is clear, so as long as I can find the other 2 guards, or if you want to walk over there, that works perfectly fine as well. So we're gonna loop this camera. We've got 1 more camera left, and then at some point, that is tempting, but first we're gonna get this camera, before we finally clear literally everything. Please keep moving. That is not what I asked for. There's a camera over there. We probably shouldn't try and take them out. Things are gonna end really badly if I try to take them out. And hopefully, that part's obvious because it really should be. But we can finally go over here. We can finally loop this. And we can presumably, finally, once we figure out where... We are not dealing with that at all. We're just gonna wait, and we're just gonna clear it, and things are all gonna go just fine. So once you go over there, we can knock you out. We can say out to that guard over there, and we can knock them out. And then we can always go over here, knock that out, and we should be completely clear. And that's essentially it, so Cyber's gonna start a drill. And then afterwards we've got a lot of cameras to loop to hopefully avoid having anything go horrendously wrong. At least that's the hope. So, as long as we don't throw too many grenades and break too many cameras, we should have 3 minutes of essentially free will. At least, once again, that's the hope. Is it gonna be fulfilled? Maybe, maybe not. But once again, we've gotta wait for reinforced locks since we've got maybe more cameras to loop. So hopefully this won't take too long since that camera's not looped. Which means that it seems like Cyber has gotten a very, very lucky set of guards. And as Cyber wants to know which power box it is, well, it's quite simple. It's this one, and there's one camera, two cameras, a third camera, before we can loop that camera over there. So that's just fantastic since, well, quite unfortunately that was extremely tedious, but regardless we can look out for any remaining cameras. We've looped that one, and we should have looped whatever's in here. But regardless, once we're done, we should just check the remaining areas just in case we need to do something. So essentially, it's just looking out for cameras, which that area should be clear since there were none. This area should be clear. This area should be clear by now, since I've looped those two cameras as well. But maybe we might want to check that area over there. So we're gonna do that real quick by going through here, all the way through here, and who knows, there might just be a camera over there. Which there is, and this should be the last camera. At least that's a theory. So hopefully it's true. But I mean right now, we can always just go ahead and try and find some explosives. Or maybe a vault keycard, which would probably not be in this room, but instead in somewhere over here. Which I'm realizing this is a corridor, and there's a very real chance there's a camera down it. So we're just going to not go through that, and we're just going to go through here. Well, I mean, that's one way of clearing it. But naturally, we're going to get shot because that's... Well, I appreciate it. So I suppose I'll heal up. And hopefully Cyber won't shoot me yet again, since that would be quite inconvenient, to say the least. But there's always another camera over there. And unfortunately, seemingly, we are still incapable of finding a keycard. I mean, it shouldn't be that complicated, it's just looking through all of the guards. But we can always keep searching, and that should be this area, so we're just gonna go through here. It shouldn't be those. And you know what? It might just be the ones over here. So we can quickly check it. Go through here. Maybe I've missed it. Right then, we're just going to never talk about that again. But now that we've got a keycard, it's essentially almost done, so unfortunately we won't really have any time for explosives, and that is the wrong way. So we can go over here, wait for a bit, and then get it open. Well, that was 3 minutes of rather unimpressive keycard hunting, camera looping, and relatively slow lockpicking. But a route should be right through there, and then we can just get out of there, and things should presumably go just fine. And as long as Cyber didn't set up an explosive trap, we should probably also do just fine. So we're gonna run through here, all the way over here. There's gonna be 4 drawers on the floor for some absurd reason, and that's the daily challenge that is just over 8 minutes. Well, it's Killhouse. Cheers everyone, have a great time.